Brian, welcome to 2026. You're the very first episode of the new year.
Well, I was the very first person in a business, so it kind of makes sense.
It's only fitting. How are we feeling? New year, new opportunities, new health?
Yeah, goal focused, completely goal focused. You know, I was just listening to Ryan Holiday. He has a podcast, the Daily Stoic. He says every year, pick one big thing. Pick one big thing that scares you, that makes you work, that makes you outside of who you are, that after you do it, you're different. So we'll get into that.
Yeah,
so
now I'm curious what that's going to be.
I'm completely focused on that.
Well, that's just for those who were thinking about changing the channel, and I think now they're going to stay.
Oh, stay.
Yeah, we want to just kind of kick off the year with talking about just kind of thinking about the year ahead, developing yourself as a listener, as a leader, and thinking about developing the people on your teams, because this is when that new energy, that opportunity of those 12 months ahead really can kind of be seen in a sense. As we kick off 2026, Brian, why do you think that business owners should be thinking about leadership and development opportunities? And why is this the right moment?
Well, I mean, the simple answer is that the calendar turns, and so it's that time. The real answer is it's quiet time. You know, you get into May, June, July, August, and you're busy. You can't think about developing. But now it's quiet time, so this is the time to work on what we would say your want-tos, not your have-tos, your gain tasks, not just prevent pain tasks. Also, understand your people are thinking now also, what's the next year going to be for me?
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that you get ahead of that with them.
How is this any different from like the New Year's resolution mindset?
Well, I mean, this is the annual goal setting process.
Yeah.
And if you know my favorite line, you know what that is?
Discipline is remembering what you want.
Giddy up, Mal. You've been around me a long time.
Sure have.
Yeah. So
Sure have.
this is the time to remember what you want and to lay out a coursework. And I like to say, make pretend we're talking this time next year. Mal, how is your world different? And like, what does it look like? And then I want to back up and I say, so what behaviors do you need to put in place? And I mean, make no mistake, it's a resolution for the new me, but it's got to come with details.
Yes, that's I think the thing. It's not so often. I think people just set these resolutions without really the intention behind it, the plan, the SMART goal behind it, right? Yes. You work with companies of all different sizes and stages and people, as do all of our coaches. What have you seen when when a business owner not only develops themselves, but also invests in developing their people versus those who don't?
You know, I've been doing this particular business now 22 years, and I'm fortunate enough to have worked with a lot of the same people that I started with.
Yeah.
The Josh Abramson, Matt Jesse, Stefano Pete, you know, they clearly see the wisdom in investing in people so that it's owner oversight, not owner operated. So now as an owner, I get to choose what role I want to play and I want to have oversight, as opposed to being kind of a slave to every role here. So like Matt Jesse's probably our greatest investor in people right now, and we are helping him work with Vicente to become general manager over the next 3 years. And we just got back recently from his planning process, and in his 3-year vision, Vicente is the GM.
Wow.
And he was in that meeting, and Matt is also thinking about what he's going to do in his next life. You can't contemplate doing anything else besides your business unless you get people in your business to do the major leadership roles.
So it's the years of investing in your people that really pay off, that allow you to have the opportunities down the line.
Absolutely.
All right, let's start with you. It wouldn't make sense for us to talk about a development podcast and developing people if you didn't, walk the path yourself. And you obviously just teased a little bit at the very beginning. What are you personally focusing on developing in 2026?
Yeah, so I separate them into 2 different categories, so personal and professional. So the personal one was what I was referring to, and it's the one big thing that scares me. It's the one big thing I'm going to do, and it's the Half Ironman in June.
Yes.
June 14th, I picked that endurance event. It's a 1.2 mile swim, 56 mile bike ride, half a marathon. I picked it because I know that between now and then, it will change who I am. I will eat better. I will drink less alcohol. I will prioritize sleep. I will become completely goal-focused every day and live a better life every day. I told my peer group that this was my one thing, legacy. And Neil Roach said to me, my goal was to get to the starting line of the Half Ironman, because that's what I know, that's a win. And Neil said, no. You got to finish the Half Ironman in under 7 hours. So that is my goal. Yeah. And that's what I love about it is it takes my mind away from just business, and it makes me very deliberate to give me the better habits every day. So, and it also at 62 years old, having something like this out there makes you think you're younger, makes you feel younger. And I like that. And, you know, I've done one before. I've done marathons. And when I don't have something like that in my life, I'm like a ship with a loose sail.
Yeah, no, you're not. There's no port to find.
I'm like, where am I going?
Yeah, I totally get it.
Right?
Yeah.
And so whatever the goal it is, so I would challenge listeners here to pick one big thing. Maybe it's a hike that you do. Maybe it's a long bike ride.
What's cool is that this is a very much personal journey, but you're also doing it with several other people that you know and are close to. I mean, Colin is doing it. You've got nephews and nieces doing
Your husband,
it. My
Justin.
husband's doing it. So there's a camaraderie in also the training and the planning for this.
Yeah.
So anybody who's done an endurance event knows it's very much a personal situation. But getting there can really be so much more fun by those who are doing it with you.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I want to make sure people know this is not, you don't have to do an endurance event.
No.
When I say one big thing, like what's the one big thing that will scare you? Maybe it's
reading a book a month.
Yes.
Get yourself into a book club who people can
join something that you've been thinking about.
Learning a new skill. Find a course that's going to help you.
Yep.
It's not. It doesn't have to be so completely solo.
Yep. Yeah, you know, for you people like my age, thinking about letting go of your business, you can't let go of your business until you join on to something else, because you just don't stop having a purpose and a passion. So I would challenge you to find one new thing in your life that scares you.
Love it.
Do it. Yeah.
So that's more on the personal side. Do you have any other goals that you want to share, or is that
I think
the main one?
I think the professional side is continuing to develop you and your brother.
Yeah.
We had a great year, I think, with laying out a plan for your leadership. And I became finally emotionally accepting of the fact that, you know, in 5 years or so, I'm moving on. It was there in my mind intellectually, but emotionally, I went through a process here. I think I maybe mentioned this on a past podcast. So this separation of identity role, like my identity is not dictated by role failure or success in the business. So my identity, making sure I can separate that from the business, that's really key. Also developing decision-making capabilities with you and Colin, and how decisions get made, and being cognizant that I'm going to begin letting go decision-making. So now every decision that comes up, I'm way more cognizant of, hey, maybe I should just let them make it. And maybe you've noticed I've been doing that more.
Yeah.
A little bit. So I need, this time next year, it needs to be a lot.
More, yeah.
You did good, Dad.
Yeah. No, I would say strides were definitely made this year in that aspect. Why do you, what's the point of you even sharing all of this with the listeners, even with your mastermind groups, with the people that you coach? Why tell them what you're developing yourself on as you work to help develop them?
Yeah, I mean, this is so key, because anybody who knows me, it's me. I can't coach authentically unless I'm in there with it. I'm an emotional coach. I move on passion, and I move on what's real. And so I can coach aggressively if I believe in it personally, and I'm there with you guys. So it makes it so much more fun. I mean, you can't sort of coach academically. You know, you can bring in academic things, but you've got to coach emotionally, understand where people are and where they want to be. Yeah.
It helps build that connection. We're all working on something. You have, I mean, obviously this is probably a challenge that you've come across yourself, thinking about even the next 6 months, trying to make the time for more sleep, for more workouts to make this Ironman happen. But I'm sure that you've heard I don't want to say excuses, but reasons from other business owners who just, I don't have time to do this. There's not enough time in the day. What do you say to them about the time management when it comes to taking those moments to focus on their development?
Well, everybody first says yes, and they say they'll do it, and then they get on the call again next month, and they haven't done it. And the simple reason is the biology of dopamine and the neurologic pathways that habits happen, and the need to solve problems. And it's easier to solve a problem than to just stop and be still and then make something happen that maybe doesn't give you the same dopamine right away. So what to do is be clear, say no to more things. Say
no. Feel okay saying no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, reading the book, The Science of Scaling by Benjamin Hardy, he talks about you cannot scale unless you say no to the floor. And the floor are those things that don't move you. They're the wrong customers you work with, those type of things. So I also believe a lot in journaling and journaling what you want, journaling how you did. I really believe in calendaring and protecting your calendar so that you can make sure your gain tasks are there. It's hard because resistance faces you every day.
Yeah.
And so understand resistance is this thing that stops you from being that better person. And so go to war with resistance, and it'll beat you sometimes.
Yeah.
But you'll beat it the next time.
I saw a little preview of a survey that was going out to mastermind groups for, I think, January discussions, and it really was a kind of an evaluation and a self-audit of their time.
It's an executive audit.
Yeah. Looking at their calendar, what meetings are they a part of that they don't need to be a part of. And I thought that's a really great way to start the year. Like,
what aren't they delegating?
Yeah. How do I gain back more time in things that I don't need to be at to be able to be doing the things that I should be doing?
Again, you need to remember what you want more.
Yeah.
That's why it's my favorite quote, and people don't take enough pause to remember what they want, even to write down what they want, to be intentional about what they want. And, the older you get, the more you realize how important it is to be intentional with your time.
Yeah.
And what you want, because the window is closing.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that you and your brother Kevin are very alike in the fact, and I think I've probably taken on this trait too, is when you pick a goal, you talk about it. You share it with whoever is willing to listen to you. And part of that, I know it's a psyche thing. Part of that is accountability.
Yeah.
Like the more people who know that this is a goal that I have put out there for myself. Again, the goal can be whatever it is that you're intentional, your heart is going after. The more people who know, the more people who are aware, and you're less likely to let that fail.
Yeah, again, so we're trying to rewire neural pathways and change behaviors. So the other thing associated with this goal was losing weight. Like, I'm not heavy, but I'm a dozen pounds. I'm a sack of potatoes heavier than I want to be when I'm finishing that last half marathon. Am I holding 12 to 15 more pounds? Shed that. So when I shared that, I shared that goal with Legacy Group. Mm-hmm. And now I have this new saying: no more crackers, no more tricks, no more resistance. No more crackers, no more chips, no more resistance, dirty tricks. So there's this.
I thought there was going to be cheese in there somewhere.
No, I created a bot, a trainer bot.
Okay.
And the bot said cheese is okay.
Okay.
It's these chips and crackers when I get home. So we have this cupboard, and you open it up, and Agnes, I don't know, she buys so many crackers and chips. There's literally bags and bags of crackers and chips. Yeah. So I'm either going to lock the cupboard or tell her to throw them all out.
Right.
I got to because no more crackers and chips.
No more crackers and chips allowed. All right. So we talk about all these things because it's setting the context. Like, everybody's working on their own development. Everybody's got goals, and there are methods to help make it happen, and that accountability, that intention. But we also part of that time management question I just asked you, and for business owners in walking the path themselves, because there's it's so crucial that they're also developing the people on their team and maybe picking 1 or 2 or 3 people that they're going to focus on this, that next year. How does it help folks knowing their own strengths, their own weaknesses? I mean, we talk about a lot of assessments, DISC, Working Genius, Strength Finders, all those things. How does it help knowing what their strengths are going into developing somebody else?
Well, the first 2 rules of emotional intelligence are self-awareness and self-regulation. And so the self-awareness is to know your blind spots. Mm-hmm. Self-awareness is to know how you show up as a leader, and then to know your team's DISC and your team's genius. But to also know how to put people in place that complement you or that have those sort of behaviors that you don't have. And so, getting into role, I know I'm a lower D, but I know I get in the role, I raise my D. So,
we've all seen it raised.
Yeah, but I don't generally, I don't.
No, there's moments for it.
I don't show up that way, but business success is about behaving properly. And so these profiles will tell you your natural disposition of how you behave. Am I conflict avoidance, or am I conflict abruptness? Making things happen. Do I come at things too quickly, or do I pause, reflect, and give people time to think about what I'm presenting? Do I take up all the oxygen in the room, or do I wait until my team gives input and then I talk? So this self-awareness, like I'm a super high I need to lower that when I'm in a management team meeting, because I'll take up the oxygen and force things to happen. I would challenge leaders on this call, if you're doing that, when you're in a meeting with your team and you really want input from people on your team, then you got to really hold back your style so that they're not influenced and maybe giving you the wrong answer, or they're, what's worse, zipping up and not saying something. So knowing yourself is key, and then using that same to know people, how to draw people out.
Yeah.
And also, that's a really, really first step.
I won't name names, but Colin had shared with me maybe several months ago, 6 months ago at this point, one of his clients had a tendency to do that a little bit in meetings. And he and Colin talked about it, and Colin challenged him in some of their upcoming meetings just to sit back, to listen, to hear what the people had to say. And I think it was very impactful for that individual to actually let the people in the room speak.
Totally. One of Colin's favorite lines is, "What am I acting like I really want?"
Yeah.
What am I acting like I really want? And so if you think about that, then you'll hold back, because what I really want is other people stepping up. I really want other people's input. I really want other people to feel safe to say it. But what am I acting like? If I'm abrupt and I'm quick and I'm giving kind of a facial expression, how could you say that? That's a silly idea.
Yeah.
So that takes cognitive awareness.
Yes, and sometimes a lot of people don't even realize it, that they're doing it.
Oh, most times they don't.
They need to be recorded, or they need somebody else to kind of call it out and give examples. That's hard to hear sometimes. Or let's talk about a specific role. And we're doing this as an example, but we picked this role because, you deem it to be pretty critical to the success of the business. In the annual planning mid-check-in that Sydney and I did, this was a takeaway that you were also seeing as part of a lot of your planning sessions. And it's the role of the field supervisor, and really getting this right and developing the right people into this role. It's understanding the position and the impact it has on the business, because it really can allow a company to scale or to not. Why pick this role for one? Why do you deem it so important? And then from a really high level, what does this role do?
I often say the most important role in a contracting business is a crew leader, a job leader. But when you get to around 2 million in business, you can't, as an owner, have more than 5 or 6 crew leaders reporting into you. So who on your team is going to cascade down that culture? Who's going to make sure that they're practicing safe work practices, that they're making sure the brand is happening, that culture is protected, that jobs are being brought on time? Now, the role of this field general, what you first think, is not to manage jobs, it's to develop the people. And that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah,
and maybe the biggest myth.
I think that's the biggest myth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are not showing up on a job site and dictating what to do next. You are observing you're a crew leader. You're bringing your crew leader aside, offering coaching to them.
Yep.
You're understanding what your crew leaders want. And this is where you're really making a difference, is you're making your crew leaders feel important, and you have a training plan for them and those type things.
So often you have seen a lot of companies just promote a crew leader into this role, but it doesn't always work out. Why is that? And if I can guess, is it because the assumption is it's about managing jobs versus about managing, developing people?
Yeah. The hardest role of a crew leader is managing people. We say the three legs of the stool: managing a job scope, managing customer relationships, and managing employees who show up late.
Yeah.
How do you give them feedback, delegating, goal setting, and those type things. So now you remove them from managing the day-to-day, customer stuff, and they completely focus on the emotional intelligence piece that's here. So that's the hardest move.
Yeah.
To do that. The second hardest move is financials. It's understanding that the field leader is responsible for the revenue. In our workbook, there's a revenue cookbook, and it's got the number of craftspeople needed, the hours worked, the pricing, the revenue every month. I say to these teams that I coach, the field leader owns revenue, because if they don't have enough craft people and they can't bring jobs in on time because they're working too long, not getting next, the whole thing falls down.
Yeah.
So what are the performance indicators that a field leader has to know and obsess over every month? And that's different. So now we're not just thinking about crew leader getting a job done by Wednesday and I've got this many hours. Now I'm thinking about all the hours on every job, productivity, bringing in hours, bringing in jobs on time or under hours.
It's like the ability to both zoom out and see big picture, but then also to be able to dive deep when there's a problem and understand what that problem is.
Absolutely.
You've kind of hit this already, but I want to read these out. I'm going to read these so I don't get them incorrect. But the position vision for the field supervisor role that we have, and if a listener would like to see what that position vision is, please reach out to me. I'm happy to share it with you. There are 5 key areas of which the role is measured by. It's self-development, people development, customer management, financial management, and logistics. My question was going to be which tends to be the biggest gap when someone steps into this role, but I'm already guessing based upon what you said, it's developing people and financial management.
Yes. And then a real close third is this self-development. And you've got to read books. If you got, listen to books if you don't want to read the books. I mean, I've read over my time hundreds of books to make me better. And I'm still reading books to make me better. So there's still so much to learn. So if you're going to be really good at managing people and knowing people, then read about it so your mind is filled with the behaviors you need. So that's, set those goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we see this as such a kind of a critical position within the company. I mean, this is an area or a function that we've also worked on developing a lot of content around. We've done, we have field generals, peer groups, field workshops, advanced fields management. Something that's new this year that we are focusing on is we said, how do we take, our sales, jumpstart our sales accelerator? How do we do that for field? How do we give one-on-one time, a 3-month development plan to somebody specifically in the field based upon critical areas? It's a new program based upon years and years of work that we've done. We just kind of really condensed it and made it more of a one-to-one style. Within this accelerator for field, there are 3 areas that really come from that position vision, but the 3 areas of focus. 1 is emotional intelligence, 2nd is numbers, and then the 3rd is systems. And then, of course, there's a lot of meat within those. You've already mentioned a little bit about EQ, but why do we go about this sequence? Why are we hitting emotional intelligence first, then to the numbers, then to systems?
So yeah, you can't lead people if the blood leaves your amygdala and leaves your cerebral cortex and goes to this almond-shaped size amygdala in your head. And so emotional intelligence is the self-awareness and the self-regulation so that you can pause, reflect, and choose, because there's going to be situations. So your discernment has to become great. And discernment can only be great if the blood stays in the right part of the brain. That's the science here. So emotionally also, people won't follow you if they don't feel treated fairly.
Yeah.
They won't follow you if they don't feel heard or cared for.
They're scared of your reaction.
Yeah.
Because you fly off the handle.
Yeah. If you don't meet them where they are, if you come with one leadership style and lead everybody that way, you're going to lose at least half your people who don't follow. So you've got to have the emotional intelligence to situationally lead in the moment that it's calling for.
Yeah.
And so you can't get angry, you can't. You can discipline, But getting mad and angry and yelling is completely useless and not professional, and it's not the field leader. You can't.
How much of this, like having EQ, having emotional intelligence, how much is that just a natural, innate skill versus how much can it truly be taught?
Well, let's go back to your first question where you said you've been around companies who have developed their people and all. I can tell you, Vicente, I mentioned him earlier. Yep. We started working with him 20 years ago. He was a self-proclaimed hothead.
Self-proclaimed.
Oh, yeah. In fact, he just spoke in the Grand Summit on this topic, and now he's risen above it. There's this higher self of self-awareness. Yeah. When you start to see, hey, when I treat people a little bit differently, I start getting different results.
He seems very confident and steady now.
Oh yeah.
When you speak to him.
Can't rock my world.
Yeah.
I decide when my world's rocked.
Yeah.
So again, this discernment ability is so key. And so you cannot lose the precious gift of clear thinking. You can't lose it.
So you're saying it can be taught.
No question.
Clearly, Vicente is a great example of that. But there has to be a true desire to want it. Because I'm sure Vicente had to work hard at that over the last 10, 15 years.
Oh, it goes back to the self-awareness too. You got to realize. So Kevin Nolan will tell you, go back 30, 40 years, he was a hothead and super high D, and emotional intelligence changed his life. And so his self-awareness around it is huge. Yeah. And because you got to, again, discipline, remembering what you want.
Yep.
So you got to have the discipline in the moment when there's this trigger. Let's be totally clear. Triggers happen. Triggers happen all day long. And it's how you respond to it and give yourself the gift of time in this fuse. So a trigger doesn't become, It gives you that pause to keep your blood where it belongs, in the thinking part of your brain.
So if you're listening to this and whether you are a field supervisor, or you want to become a field supervisor, or you're a business owner who wants to develop somebody, maybe who's not in the role yet or who's in the role, this is key block number one.
Key block
is, does this person have EQ? If they do, where are just some of the areas that we need to tighten up? If they don't, what are the steps to get them there? And because EQ involves so many things, it's also just about just general conversations. It's about giving regular daily feedback to your crew leaders. That can also be hard. Feedback can be good or bad. It's the bad feedback that often the mistakes are made.
Well, this is getting into now what field leaders have to get right. If you're going to be a field leader, a general, you got to make feedback your friend. And you got to stop thinking of feedback as conflict. Think about it as development. You can't develop people unless you give feedback. And so feedback doesn't have to be hostile and conflict and things, you would say. And so I've learned this over the years. I think you've heard me say, as a young professional, I was terrible at this because I thought feedback was going to cause conflict. They wouldn't like me.
Hurting someone's feelings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So now, I've got feedback as a gift. I give feedback every day. I give more good feedback than bad feedback because people do more good than they do bad.
Yeah.
But so I have rewired my brain to do that. You can't go silent to violence. Like, someone did something wrong. So next thing you know, you become passive aggressive with them. You can't get mad. You got to learn how to deal with what we call broken agreements. When you delegate and someone's accountable to do something, how do you follow up? Yeah. So let people know ahead of time that you're going to give them feedback. But field leaders, you cannot even have good at your job unless you embrace feedback and give more good feedback than bad feedback.
Okay. All right. That's fair. So there's a lot of meat within that EQ module or that EQ section. But I think we've hit some highlights. The second one is the numbers piece. And you've hit on this a little bit in terms of how you coach, that in the companies that you work with, that the field supervisor has to own the revenue. So owning the revenue cookbook, the job costing, and there's KPIs that they need to be on top of every day. Why do they need to be so understanding or be so knowledgeable of these financial metrics?
Well, I mean, I can call a field leader and I could ask him, are you guys booked out? Yeah, we're booked out for 5 weeks. Oh, okay, good. So you're booked out for 5 weeks with 30 guys? Oh, no, we have about 19 guys. Well, the budget says 30 guys. You're not going to hit the revenue number unless all of a sudden you really only booked out 2 weeks. So the numbers tell the story. We do the budget, you write the story, And then you live it. I want the field leaders to print the revenue cookbook. I want them to have it with them. I want them to know how many craftspeople they need next month. I want them to begin now. So if you're a crew leader, you're thinking about next week's jobs. If you're a field leader, you're thinking about next month's resources. How many do I have?
It shows even, I don't know if we've hit this before, but like the tie between HR and recruiting and the field. They need to be in sync together and on the same page.
Oh, yeah, so close.
Yeah. Bringing into like the crew leader benchmarking component too, this is just like another financial metric that is important to be considered. How do field supervisors go about tracking their crew leaders' performance?
This is probably the biggest need still that I see with companies that I work with. Let's back it up and say, I don't think there's enough job costing. So maybe if there is job costing, I don't think there's enough job cost reviews, job cost forums.
Yeah.
To know.
There's no so what behind it.
Right. So what, now what?
Yeah.
What jobs do we do better at? What jobs do we do worse at? Now, if you take your job costing and you put it into a benchmarking template that we have, you can get your productivity, your gross profit, your revenue by crew leader and sales rep. So now I can look at every crew leader and it rolls up all their jobs in the last month, quarter, you quantify it, and it tells you productivity, GP, revenue per hour, gross profit per hour, every crew leader. So now I can sit down with a crew leader.
Yeah.
And it's not just about one job. I mean, one job goes bad now and again.
Yeah.
How is your book of business and what's going on? Who's on your team? How are you managing? You seem to manage small jobs okay, but when I look at a job type, I look at large jobs, they're all going over. So let's talk about sequencing. So this is how you manage. So you use the data to manage.
I just was going to say, these are the data points that allow you to give proper feedback.
Yeah, objectively.
Yeah.
Like, here it is. I mean, this gets into this science of scaling. What jobs should we not be doing? Where do we make money? Where don't we? We were out at Albright and we were looking at benchmarking in this planning session, and it was so clear the HOAs were making so much more money per hour. And so Josh is going to expand to a new area, but he's going to only expand with HOA work.
Got it.
Right. So let's get surgical on what we do, not just like getting busy. Yeah. Let's focus. And so getting your field supervisors in that loop is so important.
What is the right cadence for this crew leader not even the benchmarking, but these reviews? Are we looking at like the last month of jobs, the last 2 months? How often should a field supervisor be having their pulse on this data?
So, I like a job cost forum with the management team or the sales and field leader at least once every 2 weeks. Okay. And I like to come with the list of really good jobs and the list of really bad jobs. You don't need to talk about all the jobs. Okay. But, the why behind the good jobs. So sales knows the why behind the bad jobs. But then once a month, I like my field leader sit-downs because it's often tied to a bonus program too.
Got it.
So PFP.
All right. The last kind of section in terms of development that we deem that's important from a focus area is the field systems. It's the operations manual, it's the SOP, it's the checklist, it's technology. Which I can imagine some people just want to dive into these. They immediately see areas to fix, see gaps, but why can't you immediately go changing an operations manual or go immediately implementing technology if you've not mastered EQ, if you don't understand the financials behind it?
Well, I mean, this would be like putting Brian Nolan into a race car. I sit into a race car, and how do you drive this thing? There's a manual. This is about knowing your crew, your pit crew.
Yeah.
And so the biggest issue I see is not that people don't have systems companies, but the systems aren't consistently followed. You can have a pre-job walkthrough, first day on the job checklist. You can have all these checklists, but they're not followed. And so you have crews doing things differently. That's why it's a management piece. That's why it's a people thing.
Yeah.
You're developing your people to understand how they're using those systems, making sure that get done. That's the hard part.
It's overall, I mean, you can tell just from listening to the areas of development, it's not an easy role, but it's so crucial to the success of the field. And production.
Yeah, I mean, you can't scale without it.
Yeah. There are many key roles in a business, but this is one of them. And obviously, we've got now programs around it. But at the high level, what this conversation was really meant to do is to help you identify whether it's a field supervisor or somebody else in your business, and what are the kind of the 3 to 4 core areas that this role really needs to do well, and how do I get my people there?
Right.
Closing this out, what becomes possible in a business when this role in particular, when this field leadership role is truly developed, it's successful, the pieces have fallen into place?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is that now the owner can do strategic thinking. They're not having to focus on tactical thinking.
Yeah.
The owner can really think about the growth as opposed to running around, setting up jobs, those type things. Dealing with customer problems. The field supervisor does that first.
I hear a lot of times, whether I'm talking to clients or talking to potential new clients, when I ask business owner, what do you like to do the most? What makes you the most happy? 3 years from now, what would you like to be doing? And a lot of the answers, they want to be able to have the time to coach their people. And these are the roles that we're coaching.
Totally.
We're not, the owner's not coaching the new job leader, but it's the critical roles that the owner now gets to coach, and this is one of them.
Yeah, and I'll do a play for our 2 coaches that are leading off this Field Leader Accelerator program. It is Mike Freeman and Sheldon Stewart.
Yes.
Mike and Sheldon have been, they've been doing this for years and years and years. And so we're kicking off our first Field Leader Accelerator one-on-one next week. And, if you have a field leader that you think has a lot of potential, this program could accelerate them to get there.
Absolutely. Well, here's to developing yourself and key roles in your team in 2026. And here's to just a good year ahead across the board.
Thanks, Molly.
Going with a good mindset.
Yes.
Thanks for being a listener again to our podcast. We're excited to kick off a new season here. I'm excited for the conversations and guests that are coming down the road.
Pick your one thing that makes you uncomfortable.
Cheers.
Thanks.